How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. So over on the Dixie for the daily, we did try to hit our resistance, and we got rejected. If we continue to reject this resistance at this point, we're likely going to see that breakdown. And again, as they have an inverse relationship, Dixie and crypto, that would be positive for crypto, and we could see crypto push forward. Our RSI is starting to kind of waver around as that stochastic does show signs that it wants to weaken. Our momentum, our blue wave, does want to round with the red dot as that VWAP has lower highs and it does want to break through that neutral. So if it does break through, we will see momentum round away and money flow will weaken that green wave and it could become red, showing that we have a sell-off. So remember, once we get that sell-off, we could start to drop lower. Over on the 4 hour, RSI does look like it is getting pretty maxed out. Stochastic wants to round. I would watch as that stochastic rounds away. Our RSI could come down, and that will bring price action lower. The momentum does want to round away here after breaking toward the bullish territory with that VWAP, so I would watch. If that VWAP does give up the bullish strength, our momentum will start to push down and money flow will start to weaken. Over on our 2 hour here, we did hit our resistance area. We are struggling to break above it. Again, that would be positive for crypto. Momentum does want to round with the red dot as that VWAP is about to break bearish, so watch that VWAP close. If we break through to the bearish side and we don't get back above the neutral and hold, then we will see the Dixie break down. That momentum does want to round, and if that momentum breaks away, money flow will weaken, and as it weakens on the lower time frames, we would see those higher time frames push down as well. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is pulling back. Our RSI wants to weaken here. Our momentum is rounding away as that VWAP is struggling to break over that neutral. Again, if that VWAP can't break over that neutral and hold, we will see momentum continue to weaken and money flow will follow, and we will see overall a sell-off from here, possibly retesting that 300 EMA. And if we break that 300 EMA, that's likely where we would see that break to lower targets. Like if you did see on the daily, we do have that gapped area. Way down here, we could drop to right around that 101, but we would have to break all our other support areas first. So over on total for the daily, kind of fixing this. I can show a little more than I'm used to now that I made this in the corner a little smaller. But over on total, we are trying to get that break up, and we are pulling back into our flag pattern. So we do have this pattern that played out for us that is positive, that did have that long lower shadow that showed bears tried to drop us down, but they were unsuccessful, and we overall pushed forward. We did get near that golden pocket, but we stopped shy of it. If we can't break above this channel, this consolidation channel, and hold, we could still have a possibility of rounding away, but this does make a bit of a rounding bottom. That rounding bottom, if confirmed with another green candle, could try to push us above that golden pocket zone to the 674 range, and that would be positive for altcoins, as we would see a pretty strong recovery in response to this pretty quick drop. RSI does want to push up, stochastic is running forward, VWAP does want to remain bullish, momentum is getting a green dot and trying to push up, and the money flow does want to break that neutral, so we do look positive, but we need to keep the bullish momentum going. Over on our 4 hour here, we do have what would be our second touch to the top and a rejection, so I would exercise caution. If we approach the bottom of this flag and we do break out of it, we could still see some lower price targets. However, if we do solidify a bounce off this flag and then break away from it, that would be very positive, and that could help push total further up. Again, that would push all the altcoins, as this is the market cap of all the altcoins besides Ethereum. Our stochastic, our double line, does want to round away. We do have our orange above blue, so I would watch if we start to see a split off and a quick drop. Our red line, our RSI, could start to drop away, and as they start to drop away, that would weaken price action. Our blue wave, our momentum, does want to round with our yellow wave, the VWAP. As that VWAP pulls back, it does want to retest that neutral area. If it breaks this neutral area and falls below it, momentum will round away, money flow would remain bearish, and we would see a push down still. So we have a little bit of a push. It does look positive with the way the Dixie looks, but I would still exercise caution overall. The stochastic here does want to round. Momentum is starting to push down. RSI is breaking down here on the 2 hour. The VWAP does want to break that neutral, so if the VWAP breaks the neutral, momentum will round away, and money flow could end up rejecting. That would weaken those higher time frames. Over on the 1 hour here, our momentum is starting to round away. Stochastic is dropping down. RSI is weakening. That VWAP has lower highs with lower lows, so we have a bearish trend on that yellow wave. As that bearish trend continues, momentum could start to pull back our blue wave, and if momentum continues to pull back, money flow will start to weaken, and price action will react negatively, possibly breaking that flag support. And again, if we break that, we could continue lower. So Bitcoin dominance, if we can start to see dominance sell off, that would be positive for our altcoins, but it really won't do much to tell us how Bitcoin's going to go. Over on the dominance, we did get a rejection of the top. We did get a bit of a drop. We are trying to recover. Ideally, if you want altcoins to run, you would see dominance start to weaken and us push to the point of control, which currently is possible. We are making a little bit of a retest with that strong red candle, but I would watch for further red candles. That momentum is in the bearish territory. VWAP is breaking down. Money flow is bullish, but if the VWAP and momentum remain bearish, we will see that money flow break down, and again, that could help push altcoins up. RSI does want to pull back, and the stochastic is pretty beat down here. So Bitcoin futures, we do have the possibility for 30K with this double top possibility, but we also have a flag channel that could be kind of forming. I would want to remove that a little bit, so drop this down so it's a little stronger. That would be a freak break up, and then you would measure from your run up to the top of your flag, apply that to your top of your flag, and that could actually give us a break to around 91K. That would be providing we do not break that 57K. If we break that 57K, we still have the 30K possibility, but if we can hold in this range, we could try to get some bullish momentum. That bullish momentum could help push us up toward that 92K range. Might be a little lower for Bitcoin. Remember, futures does trade at a little bit of a premium to Bitcoin. Momentum is pushing down. Our VWAP does want to run up. So if that VWAP can hold above our neutral, momentum could gain strength, and we could see a strong run forward. Money flow is pulling back. RSI is dropping, and the stochastic does want to run up. So we do look positive, but we are rejecting our 61,790. So if we can't push forward and hold tomorrow, that would be concerning. That would give us a chance to push to our 57K, and if we do end up breaking that, again, we could see lower price action. Over on the 4 hour here, we do have a bit of a rejection going on, so again, watch very close how the next several candles look. RSI is starting to curl. Stochastic does want to round away. VWAP is bullish, pushing momentum higher. We are maintaining a bullish trend, so that is positive. That is trying to push money flow further up, but we need that momentum to continue further higher as well. Over on the 2 hour here, we are trying to run forward. We're making a retest of our support. So far, so good, but we do have a gap to the bottom. This gap to the bottom we did not fill last night, and we did run up, so I would exercise caution if we do see that bullish momentum, because that could give us the potential to snap back down. Remember, gaps have an 80% chance to fill, so if we can't hold and run forward, then it's likely we're going to break down at some point. We do have a gap above us like we covered last night, but I would just be wary with the gap below us. VWAP does want to push down. If it breaks into a bearish trend, momentum will round away, and money flow would reject away as well. Our stochastic is trying to remain bullish. RSI is pretty flat, so overall I would exercise some caution here. Over on the 1 hour, we are trying to run forward. This wasn't a rising channel when I checked it last, but right now we do have a rising channel. That rising channel could end up breaking us down, so I would exercise caution because we could see a push down to around that 60.7 area. And if we do not make a strong bounce there, that's where we could fill that lower gap. Ideally, we would fill the lower gap now, make that bounce, and run forward. However, if we make that run forward, that does leave us with a weak potential to drop down, fill that gap, and continue lower yet. Momentum does want to round, stochastic's pulling back. RSI is weakening, our VWAP is trying to maintain a bullish trend, but we're seeing a lower low. If we cannot get back above that zero, we could see the bears start to gain control and start to drop us down, so I would exercise caution. That money flow does look like it is in the bearish territory with that VWAP breaking down, so while we do have the potential to run to that 90k area with that flag possibility, if we do not push above and hold, we could end up snapping down either sooner or later. Ideally, we get that breakdown sooner, fill that gap, and then push up to get the higher move. If we come down, fill that gap, and lose this range, again, that's where the double top could take us to that 30k area. We do have the same flag here on Bitcoin, so I'm not going to, we could draw it real quick for those of you just tuning in. So that would be this range here. And then you would take your move by going from the top to where you started your break, apply that pull to the top up, and that would give you your break to around that 91, 92k range. So that would be very positive. But again, with those gaps, if we don't fill them sooner rather than later, we could see that run up, then get a rejection and crash down. So ideally, we fill the gaps sooner. RSI does want to pull back. Stochastic's pretty beat down. That VWAP has lower lows, so I would watch. VWAP is starting to make a bearish trend, and if it weakens on those higher time frames, we could push down. But again, that push wouldn't be the end of the world, providing we can hold that 57k range. Momentum is dropping down, and money flow is bearish, so I would watch those lower time frames as the daily is starting to lose its strength. So over on the 4 hour here, we are overall dropping down pretty consistently. This was a bearish continuation that did end up snapping us down. We did drop down very quick, so once you have a quick move one way, you usually have a move the opposite direction. I would watch because this pump could just be that reversal pump, and we could end up rejecting if we don't hold above EMAs. Stochastic does want to round, RSI is pulling back. The VWAP does want to round away. Momentum is bearish, so if that VWAP breaks down, money flow would remain bearish. However, if that VWAP can sustain over this neutral, momentum could continue forward and money flow could start to gain some strength. Over on the 2 hour here, our VWAP is breaking down. Momentum does want to round. Our RSI is pulling back, and Stochastic does have a bearish divergence, so I would exercise caution, as Stochastic could push us lower if we're not careful. Our money flow is in the bearish territory, and overall, we don't have the gap here on the 2 hour, but we do have the gap on futures, so I would exercise caution, because if we do fill that gap, we could see a snap down. If we can't hold that range right around that 58, 57k range, then we could see that bearish continuation drop us lower. However, if we can sustain and bounce, that's where we would see those higher targets. Our stochastic is pulling back, weakening RSI, so I would watch if they continue lower. We could end up breaking down from here. That VWAP has weak highs with continued lows, so I would watch. This is a little bit of a lower low, so if we can't get back above that neutral and hold, we will see VWAP continue to make a bearish trend, bring momentum lower, and make money flow reject, which would in turn weaken those higher time frames and give us a higher chance to break down. So over on graph for the daily, we did end up pushing forward, so this was positive. We got pretty much the full move from our rising channel, and we stopped shy of our 300 EMA. So overall, while we did pump up, I would exercise caution. If we can't break that EMA soon and hold, we could see a rejection to our 16,316 still. Stochastic does want to push up, RSI is gaining strength. Our VWAP is trying to become bullish, pushing momentum higher and making money flow push up, so we do have potential to push up, but watch the lower time frames. Altcoins do look like they could run up, but if we do see total kind of sell off and Dixie pump up, that could be invalidated. Stochastic does want to round, RSI is pulling back, momentum does want to round, VWAP is pulling back, watch it as it's close to neutral. If it breaks through neutral and can't get back above, we will see momentum weaken and money flow would remain bearish. Over on the 2 hour here, money flow is deep in the bearish territory, momentum is starting to drop away, stochastic is falling, RSI wants to weaken, and that VWAP does want to make a bounce with a slightly higher low, so watch if it can get a higher high. Right now I'm not betting on that with the red dot momentum, because that red dot does signal VWAP wants to break away and break under that neutral area. Over on the 1 hour, we do have a little bit of consolidation possibility here. However, it could end up being a symmetrical triangle, so I would watch close. If we do make a symmetrical triangle, they're 50-50, they could break us down, but it could also run us up just like a bull flag, try to break that EMA, and if we can hold that EMA, we could see a continued run forward, possibly back into this consolidation range right around that 23,195. However, if we reject our EMA, we likely would start to drop away. Momentum is starting to push away, so I would watch. We have a lower high on it as price is relatively in a similar area. Stochastic does want to pull back. VWAP is starting to pull back, and money flow is starting to reject. So if that VWAP continues with lower lows and lower highs here, momentum will break down and money flow would reject. That would weaken those higher time frames and cause us to break down. Over on Ankr for the daily, we do have a pretty good run up, but I would exercise caution. Remember, a quick run up is usually retraced. We did make our full move from our descending channel that made us push up. Can't find the pole there, but that was a bullish pattern that could push us forward. We got pretty much the full move, so I wouldn't bet too much. If we can break this area, we could try to continue to the neckline of the 3485. However, if we see a red candle here, we're likely breaking our supports below us. Stochastic does want to run up, RSI is pushing forward, VWAP does want to run up, momentum is gaining strength, and the money flow does want to push forward. So over on the 4 hour here, we do have a pretty quick drop overall. Momentum is rounding away, Stochastic does want to curl away, RSI is pulling back. The VWAP is starting to break toward neutral. If it breaks through the neutral, we could see a bearish trend that would bring momentum lower and cause money flow to reject, so I would watch the lower time frames. If they continue with bearish momentum, we will see that 4 hour break away. Momentum does want to round away here on the 2 hour, Stochastic is dropping down, RSI is weakening, VWAP is breaking bearish, and the money flow is remaining bearish, so if that VWAP continues to break down, we will see momentum give up strength, and money flow will start to pull back. That would in turn weaken the 4 hour and the daily. Over on the 1 hour, we hit our 300 EMA and we got rejected, showing why that EMA is very important. Momentum does want to round, RSI is pulling back, Stochastic's dropping down, the VWAP is favoring bearish with weak highs and continued lows. If this continues, momentum will continue to weaken, money flow will break down, and we will see a retest of the 3079. And if we can't gain bullish VWAP there, we will break down and possibly head toward the 2883. So over on XRP for the daily, we did get an attempt to run forward. It's not very strong. This is a long upper shadow candle. A long upper shadow candle shows bulls tried to run us up and bears gain control to drop us away. Stochastic does want to pull back. We do have orange above blue. RSI is pretty indecisive, but if that Stochastic continues to sell off, RSI will break down. Our VWAP does want to push up, but it's struggling to get over neutral, so watch it close. Momentum is pulling back, so if that VWAP continues to break down, momentum will drag money flow lower, and we will see a continued sell-off. Over on the 4 hour, Stochastic is starting to round away. RSI is starting to pull back, so watch for a bearish cross on Stochastic. If we see that, we could end up dropping lower. VWAP is trying to break down, causing momentum to round, so if that VWAP does break through neutral and it can't get back above, momentum will break down, causing money flow to continue to sell off. Over on the 2 hour here, we do have our orange above blue, so that Stochastic is getting a bearish cross, causing RSI to curl away and making price action start to drop. We have a manipulation X that could bring us lower. VWAP does want to break bearish, so watch for a lower low. If we get a lower low, then get lower highs. We could have a bearish trend under our neutral, bring momentum lower, and cause money flow to sell off. Over on the 1 hour, we'll have to zoom in so it's easier to see some of these candles. Bear with me, trying to get used to the new setup so you can see a little bit more, but we are starting to round away. Stochastic's pulling back, RSI is dropping down, momentum is rounding with that red dot, signaling the VWAP cross, so that VWAP is in the bearish territory yellow wave. As it continues to favor bearish, we will see momentum pick up further bearish strength, causing money flow to continue to sell off, and that would weaken those higher time frames, giving us a higher chance to fill that 44-45 range. And if we continue to be bearish at that point, we could see that break down toward around our 35 range. Finally, for ALGO, unless there's something you want to request, drop in the chat below. We are trying to push forward. This is positive. If we can stay above our 1350, we could prevent that drop to our 10-cent level and retest those all-time lows. Stochastic does want to run up. RSI is trying to push forward. Momentum wants to run forward. VWAP is very indecisive, so watch that VWAP. We do have a higher low, and we are trying to get consistent highs, but the waves aren't very strong. If the waves continue to be weak, we could easily retrace, drop down, and see momentum remain bearish, causing money flow to break. But if we can get some significant waves like back here, we could see another run forward. So I would watch if that VWAP picks up on the lower time frames. That would help push those higher time frames up. Our stochastic here on the 4-hour does want to round away. RSI is starting to pull back, momentum wants to round, and the VWAP is starting to break down that yellow wave. So as it breaks down, we will see momentum continue to round away here, and that will cause our red wave, our money flow, to reject our neutral and continue lower, giving the daily more bearish pressure. Over on our 2-hour, we did hit our purple EMA, we got rejected and we're pulling back. So again, watch this red EMA. If we break that, we could continue to break EMAs and push lower. Momentum does want to round with a double red dot as that VWAP is breaking down. If this continues to break down here, our momentum will cause money flow to sell off. That will weaken the higher time frames, and we could retest our 1350. If we break that, then we could test that 10-cent zone. RSI is dropping, stochastic wants to split off, so overall the 2-hour doesn't look too positive right now. I would watch for a retest of our 1350 and a bounce, or if we pull back to these EMAs, I would watch for a bounce and a continuation forward. We did hit the 250 EMA, but the 300, that black EMA, is the telltale if we're going to go bullish or not. If we can break that 300 EMA and hold, we can see that run to our 1618. However, if we continue to hold below it, we are going to see continued bearish momentum. Our blue wave does want to round away here. Stochastic is dropping down. RSI is weakening. That VWAP has a lower high with lower lows. So we have a bearish trend on that yellow wave, which is causing momentum to sell off. And that will weaken the money flow if we do not see a push forward. So if the VWAP cannot break above that neutral, we can see continued bearish pressure that would weaken the higher time frames. But just remember how Total and Dixie look. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I appreciate